Welcome to the Nerdist Podcast number 929. This episode is brought to you by Mozilla. Support for this podcast comes from IRL, an original podcast from Mozilla, hosted by Veronica Belmont, who I have known for years, and she is a genius and wonderful. She explores the disconnect with real stories from the internet and the online issues that affect all of us, because online life is real life now. It is IRL. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Veronica Belmont is the best. Thank you for them for sponsoring this episode of the Nerdist Podcast, which is a hostful. There are some changes afoot here at the Nerdist Podcast. Some stuff's changing, but just know that the podcast isn't going anywhere. But just we'll explain it all in the podcast, so don't you worry. I'm going to do my best to take care of you. So it's all going to be explained. So you get a hostful podcast and then a big announcement and then a dissection of that announcement, because, God forbid, what would anything be if I didn't overtalk it? So that's what you're going to get. But anyway, here it is, the Nerdist Podcast number 929, a hostful podcast, a very special episode of the podcast. You'll soon find out why. And remember, everything's okay. Everything's going to be fine. Katie, roll the fine.
Now entering Nerdist.com.
Prior, but that Trails coffee shop really likes to take their time. Especially there was one of those, you can tell young actor boys doing a long
Sexy
order.
Young actor boys? Like, were they?
Like what?
Were they hot?
Like it was just like an actor kid, like with his mom, and like he's like, "Yes, hello, can I have a bowl of avocado?"
He sounds odd.
He's like a blonde kid, probably 10 years old.
Oh, yeah.
A
my
bowl
God.
of avocado. Oh, do you have balsamic vinaigrette and olive oil? Could you put that on too? And then his mom tried to order like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And then the guy's like, "Oh, we don't serve that till 10." And then he's like, "Wait, what don't they serve till 10?" She's like, "The PBJ." And he went, "No." And then there was like a moment.
Who would do that when they were ordering something?
Chris, I was going to go there, but you went there first. Well done.
I know. I wanted to aim the bullet at myself.
There was a moment though, like there was like this awkward beat, like the kid and the mom were expecting the guy to go, "Okay."
A beat where he blinked 3 times and a heart plucked.
Yeah. That's when it's you hear people talk about, it's like, yeah, LA people, like, that type of LA, the way people complain about LA people.
Yeah.
And we never really run into those people.
No.
But then I forget if I am at the Grove shopping center or something, it's always the kids that bug me the most. There could be like a dude, a bro, going doing the same thing, but it's like when it's an actor kid.
When it's a little kid, because you're like, come on, stop trying to be an adult.
Yeah,
Be
exactly.
a kid. It's okay to be a kid.
Don't dress more expensive clothes than me.
But then you gotta go with the parents about that.
Yeah.
Like that's it. Although we're recording this very early in the morning, because let's begin by just talking about Matt Mira for a second.
Oh, no.
I'll speak for
Numbers
Matt
are down.
here. Do we have to?
Thank you.
What if it turned out that Matt actually was dead, and we were like, he was just a ghost, and he thinks he's
Hologram Mira.
hologram Mira,
Yeah.
Mira, Myragram.
It's a 60-minute window now for these podcasts.
It's almost like I can
if
hear
they
him
stop
still.
Now, they're not going to count as a download. So
What?
maybe we don't talk about it.
Okay, we don't talk about it all. So, I saw on your Instagram feed, which of course is the best way to keep up with people on a personal level.
It's very true.
That you had not one but 2 anxiety incidents that you thought you were dying.
That's right. I meant to text you saying you're hoping you're
no
okay.
worries.
But also you worry sometimes that...
The text will make me go, what?
Yeah,
I thought it was fine, and then this happened.
Yeah.
Sure.
Was that really why you didn't text him?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
It was.
I Sunday morning, I got up, I took a shower, got ready, packed up my bags, went outside the hotel. The car picks me up at 9 to go to the studio to do After Trek. I felt okay. Wheeled my bag out, sat on the bench waiting for the car, and, the car, I didn't see the car. All right, well, it's not there. Then I finally realized that the guy that was sleeping was my car. So I walked over and I, just opened my move when they're sleeping, which happens a lot because I fly, I go at weird times,
weird hours.
is just to open their trunk.
Yeah.
And then start putting my bag in. Then they come out all like, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
One guy I felt so bad for because he looked super tired. I walked.
Oh.
And then I texted our talent coordinator, was like, hey, that guy looks real tired. I'm just walking. So I'll call them and tell them he's good.
To fire that man?
Have that man fired. Have that man without a job or a wife by the end of the day.
Can we replace the driver with a PBJ?
But could you please do it after 10 so he can get his peanut butter and jelly?
Yeah. I did real quick aside. I did because he ordered a hot chocolate, of course. But like I heard the guy inside. I heard the guy inside after the kid walked away, and the guy, like the barista inside, was like, "Do we have any Himalayan sea salt for the hot chocolate?"
That is exactly what you're exactly right. When people talk about LA, like that in a nutshell, that's exactly the general vibe.
Yes.
We used to talk about those kids a lot that you'd see at the Grove being like, I want the iPad that has the 256 gigabytes.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So anyway,
I just
fucking put him right back.
Guys.
No,
Oh my God, he's
call the
really-
paramedics.
Okay, so you're
Katie,
waiting
ride those levels.
So you're waiting for the car.
I get in the car, and then I'm like, oh, I didn't have my coffee yet. And then we're driving. It's a very short drive to the studio, and I just started to like feel very tense, and like I was like, what's wrong with me? Are my clothes too tight? Do I need to is it weird if I ask the driver to pull over and take my stuff, and I'm just gonna walk the rest of the way? And I was like, yeah, that'd be really weird. So I'm just gonna go. I get out of the car and get in the elevator, and I can't, I'm just shallow breaths. I can't breathe. I'm like, oh God, what's happening? I get to the floor, go right into the bathroom, and I just take off everything and start hanging on the stall, to stretch out and just go okay, my organs.
So if someone came in, they would just see nude Matt Myra swinging.
They would just see me hanging, going, "What's up?"
Yeah. What's up? What the fuck is up?
I'm dying.
So what's up?
So I'm like, oh, this isn't working. So I just put a sweatshirt back on, go into the office. Everybody's gone into the production meeting, and the table read is at 9:15. And I'm like, okay, well, I got to get in there at 9:15. Let me just sit down for a little bit and see if I can breathe. And I couldn't really catch my breath. And then I go in. I was like, okay, I'll just power through. I go in and into the table read, and
You put your clothes on by this point, right?
yeah, I had a sweatshirt on, some jeans, some nice boots.
Sorry, John.
And I couldn't talk. I walked into the table read and I couldn't speak. I was like,
did it feel like your throat was?
I just couldn't get enough breath to say words.
Yeah.
And my showrunner Jeremy, he's like, what's going on? I was like, you all right? I was like, no. He's like, okay. He's like, okay, everybody will clear the room. How are you feeling? He's like, I was like, I can't breathe. And,
You need to go to sick bay.
and yeah, right. So no doctor. We just had an engineer and Riker on. I mean, it was we had Culber on last week. So I just I can't. I didn't know what was happening. And then I looked and I had my Fitbit on, and I was looking at my heart rate. My heart was only 93, so I was like, okay, it's only 93, so I'm not having a heart attack, I don't think. And Jeremy's gone for a minute. He comes back and he's like, the paramedics are coming. He's like, take it easy. They're gonna come up and take a look. I'm like, okay. And I'm just trying to catch my breath. I just can't figure out what's happening. But it really did feel like all of my organs were collapsing in on themselves. It was insane. I've never felt anything like that. And the FDNY came. They're paramedics because they have the EKG. Mm-hmm. So they came in, strapped me up and took my blood pressure and
Did you ask any of them if they were first responders?
No. And so they're like doing that. They're like, "Oh, your EKG's okay. It's firing." He's like, they're like, "Are you just calm down, just breathe?" I'm like, "Oh," taking my blood pressure, all that stuff. They're asking me like, "What's going on? Why? What is it? What's happening?" I was like, I was stressed, and I don't know. I'm like starting to like be able to talk a little bit. And you're like, "Okay, you want any medications?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm on Vyvanse, which is a stimulant anyway." I'm like, they're like, "Okay, so no caffeine today, no sugar. Just I want you to they're like, we want you to come back to the hospital with us." And I was like, "Do I have to go back to the hospital with this?" Like, you technically don't. Your EKG's okay. So that's good. You're not having a heart attack, but I was like, "Am I okay to fly?" He's like, they're like, "When are you flying tomorrow?" I was like, "No, at 6." It's like, I'm also doing a show at 1:00. This is like at 9:30 in the morning. They're like, "Well, you have to if you're gonna not go to the hospital, you have to sign these things." So I'm like signing these things, and I'm like starting to like get breath, and they go. And Nicole, who's our talent coordinator, talent producer, she's a doula and a yoga instructor also. So she comes in, she turns the lights off, she puts her hand on my back and just leads me through breathing exercises, which was amazing.
Yeah.
That I started to feel like I could talk, and I was like, okay, I can sort of do this, I can stand up. And then I go outside, I go out, the paramedics are talking to Jeremy, and
He could go at any minute.
Hey, we're right next to him.
He might explode.
He's in the room right now.
Wait a minute.
He can hear you.
Where is he?
Behind you.
No.
The paramedics were great, and I was like, they were like still there. So I was like, "So that's a lot of caffeine and a bunch of sugar?" And they were like,
How much caffeine are you consuming in general?
It depends on I've cut it since I started on Vyvanse, like a lot. I've cut it in more than half.
Because when I was really first having the worst panic attacks of my life, I realized, what a coincidence! It's happening right after I guzzle a coffee. Because it just
weirdly, I hadn't had any caffeine yet that day. But my normal caffeine intake is crazy.
I mean, I think a lot of it is just your body can only handle so much.
Yeah.
And your body is just like warning you, like, fuck, take it easy. We can't. There's only so much we can.
Sure.
We can sleep more.
We can
and
do.
So then they're like, Tori, who's the office manager, she's like, "We have a doctor coming. Do you want a doctor to come after the show?" I was like, "Yes, please have a doctor come after the show." Like, okay, we're going to work on that. So I'm like, I'm feeling somewhat okay. At this point, it's like almost time to get dressed, put the suit on, and go to rehearsal. So I go, put the suit on, go in to do rehearsal. Jeremy's in my ear. He's like, "Let's just go real quick through this. You don't have to we don't have to do everything." I was like, "Okay." I mess up prompter a couple times. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do here. And then I go back out and I asked the makeup lady, I was like, "How long will the makeup take?" She's like, 15 minutes. I was like, "Okay, I'm like, what's the latest I can do makeup?" They give me the time. I was like, "Okay, give me a half hour." I go into there's a very tiny dressing room attached to the stage, and I turn the light off, close the door, pitch black in there, no windows, and I put on Sea Change, and I sit Indian style on the floor and just breathe while listening to Beck. And I'm like, okay, I think I can manage to do this show. I go out, get makeup, I do the show. The whole time I'm doing the show, it's like starting to come back.
Sure.
But it's a great show. Anthony Rapp and Jonathan Frakes were like fantastic guests. Very little work you have to do when people are like engaging and talking, and so that was great. Everyone's like, "This is your best show?" It's like, really? So they're like, "Okay," and the doctor's gonna come. So the neurologist comes afterwards, and he's like testing me out, and he's like, everything's okay firing wise. He's like, what are you? He's like, what? Are you stressed right now? I was like, yeah. He's like, well, what's your schedule like? And I'm like, I run through the schedule as we all heard in the last Hostful. And he's like, yeah, you're exhausted.
Yeah.
He's like, you're suffering from exhaustion. He's like, can you like shut it down for a few days? I was like,
What are you talking about?
I was like, well, my script is table reading for the Goldbergs next week, and I have to do that, and then it shoots. And he's like, okay, well, he's like, you got to take it easy. I'm going to prescribe you Klonopin. He's like, it does the opposite of Vyvanse. I was like, wait, what? So it's like Vyvanse will lower your threshold, apparently, is what he was telling me, for a panic attack. I was like, oh, okay, so that's interesting. He's like, I need you to go, are you in psychotherapy? I was like, yeah, I have a therapist and a psychiatrist.
Well, then there's that
Like,
time where you relax where you're jerking off into a cup.
Well, that was Tuesday.
Oh, that made it real.
That was literally on Tuesday.
God, the date made it real.
Yeah.
I wasn't really picturing it until the date.
Well, so, needless to say, by the way, I have to say, so after the doctor comes back, Frakes and I are on similar flights, so he's like, what do you want to do? I was like, we should watch the football game, right? I was like, yeah. The Patriots were playing in a playoff game. I was like, who are you rooting for? He's like, the Patriots. I have a house in Maine now, and I tried to convert like 15 years ago. It was a good time to convert. I was like, all right, so it's just Frakes and I just laughing and watching the football game. That was amazing.
I mean,
he was
That's
like,
fun.
and you didn't feel like you had died at that point? Like, I've died, I'm watching football with Jonathan Frakes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Am I dead?
Maybe we're all dead.
Did that
Yeah.
show ever happen?
Everything would make a lot more sense.
I got on the flight back to LA, and normally on that flight, because it's a 6 p.m. flight, it usually gets me into LA at like 10:30. I don't go to sleep because I'm like, I'll never get to sleep when I get home. I was like, I'm just gonna fucking sleep. I need sleep. So slept on the plane for like 4 hours, got home, saw Dory. I was like, let's just go to sleep. I slept till 7:30 in the morning, and then I essentially was like, okay, well, we have a table read at 10. I'm gonna go into work. She's like, you sure? I was like, yeah, I gotta go into work. And
Sometimes, by the way, it sucks to sit around because then
Yeah,
that's when your brain really
Very
just
true.
starts spinning. The distraction
nice.
can be good.
Yeah.
so I went to work, but I'm like still a little dazed, and I go stop at the gas station / 7-Eleven right by Sony on Overland, and I go in, I buy a bunch of water. I'm like, I'm gonna hydrate today. Fill up my car, get back, and I put my stuff in. I was like, I better put this in my bag so I don't forget the water. So I put the water in my bag, close the trunk, get in the car, drive. I hear a thud. I go, wait, what? And then I look in my rear view, and my gas cap is open, and I'm like, did I just drive away with the nozzle? The answer is yes.
Red flag number 10.
Yes, I drove away with the fucking nozzle. So I reverse it. I pick the thing up. I'm looking at it. It's like the valve came off or whatever.
And they're ready for that too. Like, a friend of mine did that. And
for
they have the
sure.
form. It's like there's a form for it, right?
The owner's there.
Yeah.
He comes out. He's like, I need your insurance information. I was like, oh, he
Did it yank out of the thing?
Yeah, pulled out, but like there's a release. There's a quick release
Yeah.
valve that I think it's built for morons like myself. And I was like, oh, don't worry, I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm just going to get the insurance info from my wife. He's like, you don't have it in the car? I was like, I do, but it's my Progressive, we're now Geico. It's the whole thing. He's like, okay, and then my wife sends it. And I was like, listen, I'm not going anywhere. If you really need to find me, I'm right there. Like, literally pointing at the Sony building. I was
Yeah.
like,
By the way, you driving away with the gas thing in your car is technically a Geico commercial.
right?
Waiting to happen.
Boy, I better
point,
get Geico. So I give him the info. He's like, and he's super nice, and he's like, go in and the lady will take your information, and I give her the thing, and she's like filling it out, and she's like, don't worry, this is the third time this week.
Oh,
like,
sure, it must
what?
happen all the
That
time.
happens all the time.
Of course it does.
That's crazy
No,
to me.
of course
I
it
bet
does.
you also with like hybrids now, people are getting out of practice. Like they don't fill up all the time,
Right.
So it's like when they do it,
sure,
they kind of
yeah. So then, I go to work. I do work. We get out a little bit on the earlier side, and I'm like, oh fuck, I have to drive to Pasadena to go do a podcast.
Oh, shit.
So I drive over. I'm like, there's the whole time I'm like debating: do I go? Do I not go? I don't feel great. I should just go. And then I go, we do an episode about Moonraker, and it's the fucking blast, and it's just like so fun. And the Tuesday, I'm like, oh fuck, I have to get up. I have an 8:30 a.m. appointment at the IVF clinic. I do that. Tuesday, that's like the worst jerk off experience I've had there, guys. It was so.
I mean, we're fine without the.
No, I just have to say that the room they had me in, the doorknob was so close to the laboratory, like it was kitty cornered to the lab, so people are going in and out of that lab all the time. And then I'm just like hearing people talk about 3rd-degree burns that they have. I'm like, wait, what? And every time a doorknob, I'm like, Are
you banging on the wall?
I mean, that feels like nostalgic jerking off.
Right.
Trying to be quiet while your parents are home.
So then,
I'm talking about 3rd-degree burns.
Yeah, what are they talking about 3rd-degree burns at an IFV clinic?
I don't know. They were just like I think it was one of the lab techs talking about them burning themselves. Obviously they tell them what degree because they're lab techs.
Maybe they thought that's what would get you off.
They're just
like,
trying
they're
to figure
talking
out what
about
he's
birds.
into.
Hey, is that burn victim guy? I think so. Yeah, let's talk about this. So then Wednesday, Dory and I have an IVF appointment, and immediately they're like, "Did you talk to the doctor?" I was like, "What?" The doctor wanted to talk to you. I was like, "Oh, okay." She's like, "They're like, they need your blood," and I was like, "What?" Okay. And then I go into the back of the lab, and I'm like taking my shirt off, my button-up shirt. I'm like, "Okay, I guess you guys need my blood." He's like, "Okay, what's your name?" I'm like, "Give him my name." He's like, "No, we don't need your blood. Go to the bathroom." I was like, "What? Do I need to jerk off again?" And he's like, "No, I just need a urine sample." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So
All of your sperms are dead.
Oh, yeah.
Well, follow up to that. I go, then we see our doctor, and our doctor's like, "Okay, so listen, your morphology is good, but your count is 52,000.
It used to be 1 million.
Oh, yeah. He's like, it's 50. She's like, it's 52,000. Last time we did this, it was 350,000. I was like, she's like, you taking the antioxidants? I'm like, yep. She's like, I was like, question, does stress affect this ever? And she's like, oh, yeah. And I was like, oh, yeah, well, okay, that explains that. And I was like, so can we freeze, do we have to schedule an appointment to freeze my sperm? Because I will, theoretically, the timing right now looks like I'll be out of town when we do the actual retrieval. And she's like, we can't, your sperm's compromised at this point. We can't freeze it. You have to be here for a fresh transfer. So there's this like period of time. So like Dory's going in tomorrow, and I don't know what I will do if it happens to have to be on a Sunday. Because it would be probably next Sunday or the Sunday after, both of which I'll be in New York.
Just during After Trek, just have a fleshlight under the desk.
Well, then how do I get the contents of said fleshlight back to LA?
Duh, pneumatic tube system.
Yeah.
So
That's a fresh
that
transfer.
added a whole other layer of stress. So now I'm waiting to see about that.
How are you feeling today? Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to be clear. I did offer Matt the chance to not be at this podcast. I was like, don't show up if he goes, no, I'm good in the mornings. Like mornings are fine. Mornings are fine. Mornings are okay.
Normally every morning I'm not recounting all of my anxieties.
I'm just concerned about you because
I appreciate your concern.
Because I also had to learn that, and Jonah also learned last year that your body does have limits. And when you're younger, you don't think about that because you're like, oh, I have infinite everything. I can,
Yeah.
But then at a certain point, there is a ceiling, and your body will just start to warn you, and it'll just shut down, and you'll manifest all these symptoms of all these things, and be convinced that you have 100 different things. But if you look up anxiety symptoms, it's like the great it masks as everything. Listen, if you feel like you're having a cardiac episode, you should call a doctor. But in general, the stress is just it's really insidious.
Yeah. So I mean, essentially, the light at the end of the tunnel for me is like, okay, I have three more episodes of After Trek to do. I think by the time you guys hear this, it'll be one more episode. So we'll be through that. I'll have weekends again, and then the Goldbergs. We are doing 4 more. We have 4 more episodes to make, so I'll be done March 2nd.
Yeah, I was always able to defer the
Yeah,
and then March 3rd you'll get a terrible cold.
Oh, for sure.
It's just like the momentum just catches up and slams against your body.
It's like,
and you'll-
it's literally Newton's law.
Just try to remember to take little.
I booked a trip last night to Disney World for late March.
Good.
I was like, okay, I'll do that. And then we'll see. I don't know.
Hey, maybe you should see if you could get into. Do they have a dream suite at Disney World?
They have a dream suite in Cinderella's castle.
Yeah, you should see. Maybe that's where you. Maybe you should see if you could pull some strings and get in there, and
What
maybe
strings? I have no strings to pull.
maybe that's where Dory gets pregnant. Because you're so happy to be in the
true.
castle.
I don't want to get Dory pregnant in there because I know my mom stayed in that suite.
Beautiful.
She won the Year of a Million Dreams contest.
She did?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's fucking
Her
amazing.
friends were in Disney World whenever they were doing that a few years ago.
Yeah, they just run up to you and go, "Hey, you win."
And her friends got to stay in the Cinderella Dream Castle and like spend the night and like go walk around at night when no one's there.
That's
so
awesome.
Yeah, I was very jealous.
So I have something I want to talk about now, which is which I don't know how to talk about it. Well, it's just weird. I'm nervous about it.
Can I just say it in the easiest way possible?
Sure, you go ahead.
Nothing's changing.
That's always like, that sounds like a bad parent.
I'm gonna break
No,
up.
it's-
Nothing's going to be different. We still love you.
What are you doing?
No,
Well.
here's the deal, guys. Alphabetically, the show will pop up higher in your list. The end.
All right, yeah, I know. That's well, okay. So this is something that's been brewing for a while. I've had to shift a lot of things around, but ultimately, starting in February, I think February 6th is the first show.
Is that this one?
That's not this one.
Oh.
This is the getting ready for that one.
Farewell show.
It's not a farewell show. Stop it.
Oh,
Just
Chris,
tell
it's
people.
been a great
People
run.
are fucking having panic attacks right now.
I'm changing the name of the show. I'm changing the name of the show.
Yeah. This show now is These Friends of Mine. We're changing it to be called Ellen.
Think of it as like the Seinfeld Chronicles and then Seinfeld.
Seinfeld. Yeah.
Yeah. So
The best is yet to come, baby.
I'll tell you, Pickle Rick. I'll tell you So I'll just sort of explain because the last thing I want anyone to think is that because when you really invest time and energy into something and there's a change, I know as a fan it feels weird because number one, you like things the way they are, you like patterns, and you like and when there's a change, you're like, what the fuck? Why is this? Like I go to the same place for breakfast every day, and if there's ever a new person, they're like, "Do you need a menu?" And I'm like, "I'm
a regular.
I'm a regular. Where's the PBJ?" And so I just first want to say nothing about the show is changing. The show's going to stay the same. You guys are still invited to come on and do hostables whenever you want.
Just hostables now. Okay, cool. Whatever.
Yeah, you need another weekly commitment.
Hey,
We're
I have
invited-
a hiatus coming up.
We're
Thanks for
invited to
inviting
do
us.
the version of the podcast that wouldn't be possible without us. Thank you so much.
So I know. I'm not saying it for you.
Really?
I'm saying it for the audience,
Very
so they
generous.
don't think.
It's like your wife going, "You're still invited to sleep in the bed tonight." I thought that was just a given.
Well, not really.
The reason I'm saying that is so people know that you guys will also be a part of it. But
No, literally, it's the same thing.
it is the
Just tell them
same.
It's a name change.
I'm sure that people will still find a way to go, "Oh, it fucking sucks now." So here's the long and the short of it. In 2012. We sold Nerdist, the guy that I had partnered with, and I sold Nerdist to Legendary. And so at that time, I sort of had to make peace with like, all right, this is not technically mine anymore. And then, over the years, just with my schedule and everything, I've really become, it's not like I'm at Nerdist, the company, day to day, going, put that over there, put up this headline, and give me more pictures of Spider-Man. Which actually
Whatever,
is something that we
Blaine.
would say.
Yeah.
But that is a Blaine confession. So I kind of in the same way that about 2 years ago, I had all the social handles for Nerdist, and I gave them to the company, and I had at Hardwick because I felt like I got to a certain point where my voice wasn't representative of the full scope of the company, and the company's full voices weren't necessarily representative of mine. And I also didn't want to like say stuff or tweet stuff or put stuff that if I made some dumb joke, I didn't want people to get mad at the company. It's like, this is me and that's them. But the company really evolved to a place where I always wanted to be, which is it evolved into its own thing that was way bigger than me, way bigger than I. And so I started, last year I started really having some very deeply reflective moments about, all right, we're almost 8 years on the podcast. How do I still feel about doing the podcast? Is this something that I feel like I can continue to grow? What's happening? Things are getting so crazy busy that I really kind of had to take a look again. And is this something that I still want to do? And I thought, I do still want to do this as long as I feel like I can continue to grow it, because that's part of what excites me, is being able to grow.
You're not growing, you're dying.
And that's right. You're not growing, you're
American
dying.
industrialism at its finest.
Yeah, here we go. So that's kind of where we were at. So what was happening in parallel with this is a very long, boring story, but I'll just give you the broad strokes of it. But all the people that when we came over to Legendary, like all the executives that brought the company over, and they're all gone. Legendary was bought by a much larger company,
Wanda Group.
Yes, and I haven't met any of the Wanda people. I'm sure they're very nice. But for a long time, Legendary sort of had an interim CEO, like not a permanent person running the company. So at the beginning of last year, I kind of realized, my situation with Nerdist, the company, is that I am an employee. I have an employment contract. Like, I'm sort of like running Nerdist. It kind of puts me in like a management level, like a manager, but even more like a consultant. Because again, I'm not.
You're
there every
Mr.
day.
Manager.
I'm Mr. Manager. So, they hadn't really had there. There wasn't a person that was like a really fixed executive yet for several months. And at the end of December, my contract with Nerdist was expiring. And so time kept going on. It's like, well, no one's really talking to us. I'm not really hearing anything. They're like, well, someone's probably going to come in, but we just don't know yet. And so it just gets closer and closer and closer. And then finally in September, October, I start to really have the realization of like, I don't know if I'm going to be working there anymore after. I really just don't know if I'm going to be working there after the new year. What do I do? Well, I own the podcast. I know that. I own the podcast 100%. I own it outright. So I own all the back episodes. I own it. So the only thing I don't own is the name. I don't own that. Legendary owns that. So I start digging around and going, okay, well, if I'm not going to be employed at Nerdist anymore, where could I take the podcast? What could I do with it? Because the other backstory is, I've been happy to do this podcast for so many years. For the first 6.5 years of the podcast, I didn't get paid to do it, that was totally fine with. In the first few years, I actually paid a lot of money to make it. Yeah. And then in like the last year and a half, I got a little bit of money, like, oh, okay, well, you can have a little bit of a talent fee. I was like, okay, that's fine. Again, not doing it for the money. But sort of realizing that all this might be coming to an end, I just got panicked. So I was like, well, let me just see if I really am going to continue to do this. I got to see if anyone else wants to produce the show, like to pay for the production and everything. So I kind of put the feelers out. I met with a couple of ad companies, and people made offers, and I went with this company called Cadence 13. Because for a few reasons. Number one,
a cool name.
Yeah, it is. For number one, they're really nice, and they really were fans of the show, and they understood the show. The biggest reason was that they have their parent company owns radio stations, and I know it seems crazy to jump back with platforms, but I thought for the longest time I would love to like syndicate the podcast as a radio show, so you could still get the podcast the way you get it. But in a handful of markets, it's just on like Sunday nights. That to me seemed like a fun thing to do. I kind of started working in radio. I really like radio. And I still think podcasts haven't really even come close to tipping in terms of like being being a huge, widespread thing. I think there's plenty of room for podcasts to grow. And I think when technology makes it as easy as just flicking on a radio station, I think that's when podcasts will really, really, really... I really think most mainstream, most of the country still is like, what do I have to do?
Yeah.
I got to download what? And then I play it where? God, I don't know. It's like 2 steps too many for most people. And so, which seems surprising, but, because of the business we're in, of course everyone knows how to do it, but a lot of people don't. So this seemed to me to be a way to try to bring people over to digital because, all the top-rated podcasts are NPR podcasts.
Yeah.
It's like they have a solid radio presence, and that solid audience from that solid radio presence,
It's also edited and flashy.
Produced.
yeah, but
East Coast, West Coast.
But it's also marketed. It's also marketed as part of the NPR community and part of the, and
People support it.
It's really well done. So I really wanted the opportunity to do that. Then, additionally, everything else that I've been building, has been sort of focused on this ID10T stuff. The festival that we produced last year that we're going to do again this year, there's kind of I've always wanted to make toys and T-shirts, and so that's going to be a part of it too. And I really want to call the podcast ID10T. I want it to be a part of this new thing that I'm building, and that's very exciting to me. And that is kind of a way to stay excited about doing the podcast and continuing to do it as I'm kind of growing this new thing. And I know it's weird, and I know, Nerds Podcast just has like a very it just has a very nice flow to it. But legally I can call it that, but I have to pay Legendary a lot of money if I do.
Yeah.
And so it's just not really.
Wait, how much? Because maybe I'll do it.
You would not, if I told you how much, you would have another panic attack.
Shit.
So, but the Nerdist folks have been super nice. So anyway, just to kind of wrap up the Nerdist, the company story, a few days before the end of my contract, the new CEO who was not taking over until January 1st called and said, hey, okay, I'm starting January 1st. I really want to try to figure out, let's talk about the future of Nerdist, the company. And I go, well, I didn't know what was going on, so I have taken the podcasts from the network that I created to another company. And I'm sorry, I just legitimately didn't know if I was still going to have a job here. And he goes, no. I still want you to be a part of this. He goes, and that's fine. That's fine that you did that. I totally understand. No worries. But, let's really, after the new year, really start kind of figuring out like what the Nerdist stuff is really all going to be. So, so that's where it's at. I mean, I'm technically still CEO of Nerdist Industries, although not really under contract, but just because I don't want to put them in a bad position, and I want to make sure that if I can do anything to help, whether that's be a part of it or not be a part of it anymore, I just kind of want to. I just want to do whatever.
Yeah.
So, but this ID10T thing, I'm really excited about because it's kind of I kind of have that excitement that I had at the beginning of when I was building Nerdist, and that's really what everything is. That's why you should do stuff. Things are going to change. Things are going to evolve. It's not necessarily it's really more about the having stuff than the keeping stuff. Like Nerdist, that name was a period of time. The podcast will still be the same, and this is sort of a new chapter. People will not have to resubscribe. It's the same feed. It'll be the same types of guests. But also thematically, I feel like I've changed and I've evolved. And, and the podcast doesn't really represent the full scope of Nerdist the company either, and vice versa. So I'm proud of what Nerdist has become, and I'm also ready to do, to like name it to like start this new thing.
Yeah.
But you said something when we were talking about it before that made me laugh, where you was like, oh, you went from
once a nerd, now an idiot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But the reason that I really like ID10T as a concept is because as I'm getting older, I really feel like it's important to take responsibility for your shit. And I think that's the core message of ID10T. It's like it means user error. It's like an IT code that means user error, to sort of make fun of people who are the cause of their own problems. And that to me is fascinating because that so encompasses where I'm at in my life with taking responsibility for shit and having to go, hey, I'm wrong, or I made a mistake, or yeah, I fucked that up, or hey, I did a good job there, you know? That's so much, whereas Nerdist really represented where I was 10 years ago when I created it. Now, this represents kind of philosophically where I'm at with my life of like trying to take responsibility for things. So, what I'd be really interested to find out from the audience is, just like little thing, because Katie asked me a couple days ago, I was like, oh, I hadn't even thought about that. Because Janet Varney does the now entering Nerdist.com. That's her voice. And the now leaving and enjoy your burrito. I still feel like enjoy your burrito is a good way to sign off the podcast. If anyone else wants to suggest something, or like a different...
How about don't panic?
But that's sort of a
Hitchhiker's Guide.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Yeah. So I don't know. But the whole thing is
keep calm and podcast on.
Fuck you.
It does make sense though, because I told you the burrito from Enjoy Your Burrito
closed.
It closed down. So
I know how bummed you were about that.
It's only right to just
you just showed up there one day and it was just like boarded up, right?
I went before I was leaving on the Mystery Science Theater tour. It's like Dee and I went down. We're like, let's go, just have a day, and then we went down and like I was pulling up and it was devastating.
Oh my god, boy, was that ominous!
Yeah,
that was a bad omen for the. Good. But I just don't.
Jack in the Box, it is, honey.
Yeah, right across the street.
So I don't know. I mean, I am excited, but also scared, and I just don't. I wouldn't want anyone who has invested so much time and energy in the podcast to feel like, well, this fucking, I'm done. Like I don't want anyone
scraping the tattoos.
I don't want anyone to. I mean, it doesn't mean that stuff still exists. That period of time still exists.
We are now Jefferson Starship.
No, but now we'd be just Starship.
No, Jefferson Airplane.
So we still have another.
We have another iteration.
Yeah. So the next name of the podcast will just be Starship.
Yeah. Was it Jefferson Starship or Star? Is that Starship or Jefferson Starship?
Starship was We Built This City.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we still have our best single ahead of us.
Jefferson Starship was Sarah.
Oh, that's right.
That was Jefferson Starship.
Yeah.
And Airplane was White Rat.
1 pill makes 2 novels. 1 pill.
Wow, we really are going to improve.
We are knee deep in the hoopla as the Starship. But I wish I could sort of scoop out of my soul and put into the just mind meld with people so they could see what I see that I want to build and am excited about, and all the reasons why this is happening and why this is necessary that don't have anything to do with fucking anyone over or trying to be shitty or trying to be disrespectful to fans. I mean, the podcast is legitimately the most significant work thing I think I've ever done.
Yeah.
I've met more amazing people. I've gotten to spend some of the best moments with you guys. I got to talk to my dad in the most significant conversation before he died. We've learned so much from so many great people, and I want that to continue. It's just like the skin is just going to change. But it also really does represent where I'm at in my life. So I really am sorry if this is upsetting news to anyone, but please just understand that if you consider me like even a distant pal, that this is something that's good that I'm excited about. And then the money that is, that I'm actually getting paid to do the podcast now will fund, the ID10T stuff, like the stuff that I want to build.
Nice.
Like it's going to provide the seed money for the thing, like all this stuff that I want to make. And, I don't know if any of it's going to work. I mean, I probably will. I announced that film thing with Blumhouse last year, and I was like, I want to call it Spitball. And it turns out like, there's a guy's already called something Spitball. And from the time that I did the research to find out if there was an existing Spitball to when I announced it, they popped up.
Oh, shoot.
So I had lunch with them, and they were really nice guys. And I was like, well, here's what I'm trying to build. And they go, well, we're making these really great children's books, and they'd already made them. And I just said to them, you know what? It's yours. You got it fair and square. I'm not gonna, this is. They sprang up pretty quickly, but they were such nice guys, and I just felt like, you know what? This one's theirs. This one's theirs. So maybe everything will just be called ID10T, and because that to me just seems like the cleanest, so that you're not in a situation where you're like, wait, he's also working at thing A, but then thing B, and what's thing C now? Like, to me, it's easier.
Oh, that's your shell corp.
Yes.
It's easier. Yeah, what is I got to put all that in that offshore account that Buckingham Palace was. Yeah. It's just easier for me to picture everything and grow it as one organism. So for the time being, I'm still I'm still technically the head of Nerdist, the company, although really. Like I said, I've just been kind of a consultant there for a while. Like the team over there is really great. And Rachel, who runs the website, and all of the teams over there who, built out Alpha and Chobot and Alicia and Dan and Kyle. And I mean, it's like
Shaw.
Mike Shaw, like
B-Comp.
It's just, Brian Compton. It's just such a great, wonderful group of people
Michelle, our social.
That is Michelle Buckman. That's really done what I always wanted it to do, which was kind of be its own thing. Yeah. And they've all, they all get to kind of express what they want and be who they are and celebrate fan culture. And so that's it. So we've got some stuff to figure out, and it's, I don't know if it's going to be a perfect transition, but just know that I'm always trying my best, and I'm never trying to fuck anyone over. Like, even when I remember when we started doing ads for the podcast, like sponsorships on the podcast 6 or 7 months in, and I said the same thing. I was like, I'm not doing this to fuck with you. I will always be transparent about what's going on. It costs money to give away free stuff. I don't want you to have to pay for the podcast. I want you to be able to just get it. So we'll always be there, and for the foreseeable future. This is really, I fear that if it wasn't this, I'm not sure I was going to be able to continue to do the show.
You had to get excited about it again.
Well, not only just get excited about it, but also just like, how is it going to evolve? Yeah. And I just sort of felt like where it was and sort of the structure of where it was just going to kind of stay the same level. Mm-hmm. And this, to me, freshens it up, makes it more exciting for me and hopefully you, and allows it to grow. I'm so excited about the fact that there might be like podcasts as a weekly syndicated show. So, you'd hear it on a radio station on one day, and then you'd get like the full unedited version the next day for free, the same way it's always been. And that's really that seems really fun and exciting to me, especially as this festival thing builds out. There's just, I have a lot of plans, and there's some stuff that I can't talk about that I'm excited about. But please, just try and trust me for now if you can. And if you can't, and you really feel like, you know what, fuck you, Chris Hardwick, how dare you? We had an unspoken agreement. If you want to unsubscribe, and if you want to tell me to fuck off forever, I just say, I understand, and that and I thank you for.
Cool. If you're gonna do that, come over to Jonah Radio or Matt and Dory's Excellent Adventure.
Any of the 19 podcasts that Matt does. Come over and watch Matt Mira's Slow Breakdown.
Listen every week.
But I'm trying to have a moment here with the audience.
I know.
I
just sad, and I try to make jokes.
I don't want them to be sad. I want them to be excited.
They're happy, and I'm trying to bring them down.
I want you.
I wonder if there's a majority of the audience just going, so you're just changing the name? Cool.
That's honestly,
where
I feel
go?
like that.
I always go, I'm such a caretaker, I always go to the most extreme. Yeah. Like, hey, God, it's going to be okay. You know what? It's going to be okay. Please.
Look, like when they changed the name to Slimer and the Real Ghostbusters.
He really was the star of that show.
What's happening?
But
is the show different?
Should we change this, not ID10T, but Mira and the Real Nerdist podcast?
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Spiritually, Matt is kind of a Slimer.
Sure.
I fucking sure am. That's so funny.
Matt just like phases through the wall.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's very sweet that Hardwick is so concerned about all you lovely folks out there, but I think it's
Sound like you're about to go. I could care less about.
No,
you.
I think it's like honestly, I feel like I think like Jonah was saying. I think the majority of the people feel is honestly like, oh, you're just changing the name.
I know, but I just I never want to take anyone's feelings for granted, and I never want to just go like, well, this is what we're doing, so fucking deal. You know, like that's just not my personality,
Yeah.
and I want everyone to know that I appreciate and support the opportunity to be able to do this show for so long. This thing that I really just thought was, oh, we'll just fuck around and, you know, once a week, and as long as it's fun, who cares? Like, we'll just fucking do it. It's fine. And again, becoming like this significant. I can't imagine my life without having done the podcast, which is so weird to have gotten to a point last year where I was like, can I still do this? I mean, I remember. My buddy Rove McManus, who did that really successful talk show in Australia for 10 years, and then just all of a sudden, just announced like, I'm not going to do the show anymore. People were like, what? And when I talked to him about it, when he did the podcast like maybe 5 years ago, he goes, yeah, I just got to a point where I just didn't know what else to do with it.
Yeah.
I just was at the end of like, I didn't know. And I started to feel some of that last year, and it was really anxiety provoking because I was like, wait a minute though, this is the most significant. How could I have any? And I think it was just because I crave that kind of growth and that kind of evolution. And and I just felt like, well, where it is now and the way that it's being presented now, because I don't fully, it's not mine. I can only take it so far. And this allows me to make it sort of the cornerstone of this other thing that I want to build. And, I mean, it's
happening so close to my hiatus that buckle up. You're going to hear a lot of me on ID10T.
I hope so. I always say I wish you guys would come in. We'll still call them hostfuls. I mean, it's not, like that stuff's not going to change. But I love I guess it's because I was raised playing video games, but I just love the reward system of
loot crates. He loves loot crates.
Of building stuff and seeing how you connect things like, SimCity. It's like, how do I build this here and build this here, and then they grow, and then how do I connect these, and then how do I grow another place, and then I put in a Space Needle. We're not moving to Seattle, by the way.
Fuck.
I know. I'm sorry, you guys. So it's
there's so much Himalayan salt.
I'm being so wordy and over explaining because I just don't. I can't control people. I don't want you to be mad. I want you to understand that I really am trying to do this new thing that's very special to me, and I hope you come along, and I hope you understand.
Yeah. Also, sucker, you're already subscribed to this.
What are you gonna do?
Unsubscribe.
What are you fucking gonna do? What are you gonna do, bro? What are you gonna do?
Seems like more work to
I mean, it's less work to just click and listen because it's already in your feed. Oh, who's this? Oh, Tim Robbins. This sounds like a good episode.
Yeah, we are recording Tim Robbins soon. I think when's Tim Robbins go up? This will be the first one. Tim Robbins will be the first one of the ID10T?
Hence me saying this.
Oh, we should have called the Tape Heads.
When is it?
Oh, my God.
Chris
Anyway.
Hardwick.
That's a good name.
But I'm excited for you,
Next
Chris.
week.
You really built something here, and now you're shifting its evolution into another thing that you're building.
Yeah, I mean, it just I just have a lot of new ideas and a lot of new, fun, weird things that I want to
I'm
try.
honestly like there's a little bit of me inside that's sad that I can't be around all the time to build it with you.
Well, you'll be around as much as you want to be around.
Yeah.
You
well,
know,
I'm
you'll
just talking about
be around.
time.
Remember,
time.
it's not always
Can't
want
be
to
around.
be.
It's not want.
It's not a slight to you when we don't show up.
If I want to, if I was at every podcast I wanted to be at, I'd be at 98% of them.
Well, it's we're so in the way that
the 2% I wouldn't be at are these.
The way that I envisioned it is, Nerdist is very much like a digital content company, an editorial company. Like that. I feel like that's the brand, and very much about that type of that section of fandom. And ID10T, I got really excited with the festival last year because I like people and I like doing stuff in person. Obviously it's why I do stand up, and that's why I do the festival, and that's why we have guests on all the time. And so I just thought, oh, well, I think ID10T is more about like live events and, and expressing all these different things that I've been to over the years and trying to find like the perfect balance of all those things into one thing. And maybe we can grow it and, like do an ID10T East Coast and a West Coast, sort of like they do PAX.
I'm listening.
And then on top of that, I just buy so many toys. My wife and I buy so many toys and so many T-shirts and so many things. Like, I just want to make stuff that I would buy in a very curated way so that it doesn't, just feel like Amazon, where it's like, you can get 1 million of everything. It's like, no, let's just make limited runs of really fun things that are very special and in that moment. And then, so that's really exciting to me. And it's, it's fun to make money doing the stuff that you like, but for me, it really is about the game of it. It's like, what can I try to do? What can I build? I've told people for so many years, like, go make your thing, go make your thing. And sometimes you have to make a new thing. And this is me seizing a new opportunity to do that, of making my new thing.
Make stuff, not money.
But if you make money, that's fine too.
Well, my theory behind
is it the money?
It's like focus on making stuff, not money. So if you try to make money, you won't really like the stuff you make. But if you focus on making the good stuff, the money eventually will find you.
It's almost a good sign off. Make stuff, not money.
Make stuff, not money. It just sounds a little too...
Gross.
Sounds
gross.
Sounds gross.
Yeah. ID10T signing out. Make stuff, not money. 5,000!
Wait,
5,000
why
what?
5,000?
Was it the things?
5,000 like of whatever.
What 5,000
It's
what,
whatever it
though,
means
Jonah?
to you.
But
Money?
5,000
5,000 Andres. I don't know.
It's
What's
not even
an Andre?
5,000 Power Men?
Yeah. Yes.
525,600 minutes.
I just I am excited and there will be no ripple in the production schedule. There will be no ripple in anything.
Bad time, but Katie, you're fired.
I was just about to make that joke. No, of course, Katie's gone.
Jonah rehired.
Katie's not gone.
Katie's slogging along with us.
Katie's coming over with me. Debbie, the booker's coming over. And
Roy Choi is our in-house chef. It's really fantastic.
That's where most of the money's going to.
Roy Choi.
Roy Choi.
I mean,
Yeah,
it was
I'm not really-
weird that we asked him to do this.
Yeah.
but
You'll never hear him or taste it.
Yeah.
I got John Taffer coming in. He's going to tell me if it's,
fantastic.
if I'm building this new podcast business the
He's
right way.
going to tell you about, by the way, Bar Rescue's still going to be around, even though it's called the Paramount Network.
It's still going to be around. Yeah. I ran into Taffer. Where did I run into him?
Love him.
I can't remember where I ran into him, but what a fucking great guy.
I love him.
He's just he was like, God, I had so much fun doing your podcast, and people were so nice about it. I'd love to come back anytime. Like, of
right.
course
Please,
you
let's get him
should.
back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, can I just send a list of guests I'd like while I'm on hiatus?
Yes, anything that distracts you from thinking that your organs are imploding.
It's a time, guys. But no, this is very exciting. I look forward to this year's festival. Last year's festival was, quite frankly, as I've said to everybody who's asked me about it, incredibly smoothly run.
Yeah, it was a
blast.
This company that I put the festival on with, SGE, did an incredible job. And this next year it's going to be in November in Orange County. We're putting it closer to the city.
I thought it was in what?
Where did you think it was?
I thought it was earlier in the year.
No, we were going to try to do it in May. In the fall of last year, we were trying to put it on in May. And the tricky thing about there's usually a reason why things happen the way they happen. So we wanted to do it in May, and when we went back to the venue, the Orange County Fairgrounds, we're like, okay, we'll take these May dates. They were like, oh, you had a challenge on the date. So the way that these venues and the dates work is that you say, hey, I would like these dates. Because if they're open on the calendar, you submit for those dates. And what can happen is someone already has a hold on that date, and so you can be in like first position as a you can go, okay, I challenge that date, which means the other person who has a hold has a limited amount of time to determine if they want that date or not.
Yeah.
And so they have first right of refusal to go, no, we want it, or no, we don't. And if they surrender it, then you get the date.
Oh, fucking
we didn't
smash
we
mouth.
didn't know body. We didn't know that someone else had had a hold on the date, so we didn't get the date. But the good news about that
Gives us more lead time.
it gives us way more lead time, And also, November's a really great time of year. It's like the weather's nice. It's and so it'll be at the beginning of November at the end of this year. So it gives it plenty of lead time. We're starting to book bands now. We're starting to get some vendors in there. It'll be the same thing as last year, but quite honestly, just easier for people to do panels and to do that, those types of Comic-Con things, to just drive from LA to Orange County rather than flying to San Jose to Mountain View.
I drove. It was great.
Well, all right then. Well, you can just drive to Orange County.
No, I'm going to fly.
That'd be weird.
So you're putting on the festival's for people from LA, and they just have to go to wherever it is?
No. I just mean
a lot of the participants.
I mean,
the participants.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, directors, actors, to do the panels.
So I was thinking like the guests. You're like because wherever we put it, it's for them.
Because we got a lot of I think we got really lucky with the panels last year between you and Harmontown and Mystery and Portlandia and Fillion and Alan Tudyk. But I just feel like it's really nerve-wracking to say to people, like, can you fly up?
Yeah.
But just being able to say, like, hey, just drive, 40 minutes south.
And kids out there who are thinking, maybe I want to travel for this festival, guess what else is down there?
Disneyland is very, very close.
And it'll just have been redecorated, the Haunted Mansion, for Halloween. So you'll be good. You'll get to see the Jack Skellington version of it. It's going to be a hoot. Not Scary Farm won't be as scary because they shut that down early November.
They do. Oh, yeah, they do. Yeah. It'll just be Knott's Berry Farm
which
again.
Is a
No, it's Knott's Merry Farm.
Oh, it doesn't change to that?
To Knott's Merry Farm.
Fuck yes.
Yeah.
Also, there's plenty of hotels. It's going to be great.
When is it Knott's Dairy Farm, where you just go...
That's in the spring.
Oh, good.
But it's right after Knott's Larry Farm, which is their celebration of Larry David.
Yep, and then Knott's Fairy Farm is celebrating...
Fairies?
Is celebrating True Blood.
Oh.
Well, she was a fairy.
Yeah.
She was half fairy.
I see.
But that's Faerie, you guys.
Shepherd Ferry?
No.
Oh.
That's another... There's two Knott's Ferry Farms celebrations.
Obey Knott's Ferry Farm.
Yeah, exactly. It's just,
Anyway.
You can go on the They Live ride.
Where you put on sunglasses and everyone's an alien.
Sunglasses,
and look
and then you can
around,
see.
and then
It's a shitty dark ride.
Yeah.
When you put on the glasses, you can see that they're aliens.
Yeah.
Knott's Rowdy Roddy.
Lake grade.
Fuck.
It's okay.
It's too early for...
Too early for riffs.
Yeah.
Just so you know, this is not a taste of what's to come. We're not getting worse at podcasting. It's just early.
Okay, so let's I don't know. How do we?
So, hello.
Oh no. That's at the other end.
So funny.
Well, I hope you feel better.
Listen, I feel certainly better than some of our audience right now.
Well, God damn it. Not helpful.
It's good to be fun.
Listen, as long as you're laughing, that makes me happy. As long as you're not panic attacking, I don't care.
We'll see you on the drive.
Give me all the shit you want as long as you're smiling and happy. I think as much as you can defer your
Military
in a couple of weeks I'm going to be fine. In a couple of weeks I'll be able to sleep in. I won't have to. That is at least that light at the end of the tunnel. And I can tell you this from that period where we were recording like 7 podcasts a week, and I was doing At Midnight and Talking Dead and Nerdist stuff and 3 other things. That the only way that I survived all that was like, okay, so in 3 weeks I have 3 days off, and I'm just gonna power down for those 3 days.
Really, it's in my sights. Light at the end of the tunnel.
And Jonah, how are you're good?
Yeah.
Good.
We start on Monday. We start writing the new season of Mystery Science Theater.
God damn it, that's fantastic.
Yeah, very, very much looking forward to.
Movies have been chosen.
Movies have been chosen. There's some good picks in there, some interesting picks, and so we'll start writing that stuff. I'm very excited to get going. It's like once I found out the start date, I start feeling a little better. This is one of those things like, I got nothing going on, and that you're just like trying to self-start stuff and work on other things, and it's nice to just kind of have it's like, okay, that's there, and then you can start building around it.
Well, yeah, because what it does is that it kind of locks down that anxiety center of your brain. It just like, it just knows that you're kind of deferring the opposite. That you're actually deferring the literal opposite thing of what Matt is deferring, which is like, okay, I know that I'm going to have that.
Yes.
While I have all this free time right now, it's really crazy how you guys, your situations are completely flipped.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
But what I think is so wonderful and fascinating about that for people who are listening is that it just shows that like whatever is going on in your life and you feel stressed about, you're not alone, and that's very natural, and ultimately it's all going to be okay. Matt's going to be okay in a couple of weeks. You're going to be okay.
You know, it's so funny you're saying that. I thought a good sign-off is, hey, you're going to be okay.
Hey, you're going to be okay. Wait, what was it?
We'll be okay. What?
What some more? What else did this with the kid order? Is there anything from the kid's order that could be like a sign-off?
Roasted tomato frittata.
Yeah, I'm not really sure.
About,
They changed from burrito to enjoy your roasted frittata.
What if we signed off with the thanks so much for listening. PB&J's after 10.
PB&Js after 10.
We know what would, I mean, we'll probably just keep saying enjoy your burrito, but if we didn't say enjoy your burrito anymore, that would really kind of fit the theme of like, hey, that burrito was done, and you enjoyed it while it was happening, and now we're going to start a new thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I'm ready to change the sign. I don't know if I'm ready to change it.
Enjoy the ride home.
Enjoy the...
Oh.
Like
Beautiful ride.
Throw your burrito wrapper in the trash.
Trash.
Yeah.
Throw your goddamn...
No littering.
Throw your goddamn burrito in there. Chewbacca. Goddamn.
Patton's Nick Nolte auditioning for Han Solo.
That's like
Holy shit, Chewbacca. Goddamn.
me and Paul Bonato in the edit bay. Just like if like every time the computer would crash, like just like when you're in editing and just the computer crashing, just like God damn it, Chewbacca. It would just be like 2 minutes of us just griping because it made it like more fun than just being fucking like just bummed out.
Paul needs a faster computer.
This happens all the time.
It's crazy.
Crashing computers, like in an edit bay. It's very common.
At the Goldbergs, I don't ever see that happening on our Avids.
Yeah, well, Avid is a sturdier program, but on top of that, it's not as much media because it's like a multicam shoot as opposed to like when you have like a huge timeline of many different.
I don't if you realize that we're a single camera program and
No, but do you do multiple cameras in a scene?
we run two,
Yeah.
Boy, I hope this is what the podcast turns into.
Yeah.
Guys, let's talk about
I call
editing.
this
your
inside
tree a
frog
little
baseball.
more and show your files to me.
September
Come on
10th,
and
Hollywood Bowl,
crash
Dave Matthews Band.
into me,
It's gonna be
yeah.
great. I was like, Dory, Dave's coming back to the bowl. I was gonna get tickets. Lauren Greenberg's gonna go, and she's like, "You guys have fun." But hey, here's the deal, guys. He's got a new album coming out this summer. They're supporting a tour.
Enjoy your ride home.
I feel like if there was ever a time to get him onto the podcast, that would be the time. So, Debbie, if you're listening,
All right, he seems like a cool dude.
his manager is Corin Capshaw.
Yeah, I've met with his management team before. They were really. I a few years ago was trying to book. I tried to book Dave Matthews once for your birthday.
I remember that.
and it
I remember
didn't
like
work
you were going
out.
through a rough time, and Chris is like, "I'm really trying to get Dave Matthews. I think it'll cheer Matt up."
And when I went and met with his management
would have
team,
been amazing.
Like one of his managers, and the guy was really nice, and we had and then it was just one of those things where it's like,
He had nothing to promote.
but and then also like sometimes you can have a lot of meetings and then nothing comes of it, and it's not that anyone did anything wrong or anyone's. It's just like it just didn't work out, like it didn't line up. But maybe now, maybe now.
It'll that's something to not for me to really hope and pray for to the Lord Jesus and Yahweh and Buddha.
Somebody wants him down here.
No.
Hey now, you're an all-star.
I've been weirdly obsessed. I've been
fiddle.
my latest like weird obsession as far
really?
as like that was a fiddle, Chris.
Well, the people at home can't see the fiddle space work.
My latest fiddle space work. If you want more fiddle space work, tune into ID10T.
Fiddle Space.
Oh no!
Come down to Fiddle Space.
I miss when you guys would do Fiddle Space.
Fiddle Space, our private training room for all of your fiddle needs.
Did you
come
ever
down to Fiddle
Did you think
Space?
about calling this Noodle Stories?
Noodle stories.
Noodle story.
But my latest like deep
Noodle
dive
stories.
obsession has been early Motown or early mid Motown. So like Four Tops and the Temptations particularly have been like my deep dives as of late on YouTube.
You can't help yourself.
Okay, that's Michael McDonald.
You want you nobody. You're no
But yes, you're singing a Four Tops. You're singing a Four Tops song. But I've been like mildly obsessed with the Four Tops and Levi Stubbs, who I think is such an amazing vocalist. He was, of course, the voice of Audrey.
My favorite cut of jeans is Levi Stubbs.
God damn it, not necessary.
But
no, I reject.
Why?
Overruled.
Why?
Overruled.
It's a funny name that guy got.
You are out of order.
That
I will
guy has
have
a-
the bailiff Katie remove you.
A man has a funny name. The name should be made fun of. It doesn't take away anything, any of his accomplishments.
Approach
it just
the
sounds
bench.
like a pant.
Approach the bench.
last night, very late at night, I was on YouTube and I did a search on my iPad in bed of like the Four Tops, and I scroll, and then I see a episode of Webster with the Four Tops on it, and I'm like, what is this? And it's the whole episode, and it's so fucking insane what counted as television back then. Like the plot is bananas. Like it's that the wife is trying to lose her 5 to 10 pounds of fat from the winter, and the husband has bought her Four Tops tickets for the couple Saturdays from now. So she's at the gym trying to work out. She takes Webster with her. She's like on the bike, and then of course the Four Tops come in to the gym. They're gonna work out. They're being shown the gym, and then the Levi is like talking to Webster, and he's like, "Hey man, why don't you do me a favor and sit on my feet so I can do some sit-ups?" And that's like how they meet.
So Webster sits on the feet of the
lead singer of the Four Tops, Levi Stubbs.
But just by complete coincidence,
Yes.
the mom has tickets to.
The Four Tops, and then the Four Tops, of course, are staying at this hotel or staying nearby this gym.
Boy, that is sweaty.
Oh my God, it's crazy because they throw this plot line in early in the show where an old woman comes by asking to sign a petition for them to get a elderly people's dance that the mother would have to chaperone, and
Oh, good, a C story.
and it happens to be on the night of the Four Tops concert afterwards, and like there's a scene of her
They did this in 21 minutes?
24 minutes. She's like riding the bike and she's listening to her headphones. She's listening to the Four Tops. She's just singing the Four Tops. Then the Four Tops all come over and just start singing at her, but she's got her headphones on and can't hear it. It's insane. Of course, Webster saves the day by bringing the Four Tops to the old people dance.
Of course.
And,
Of course, and it all wraps up.
It's fucking
Well,
bananas.
I saw something that I had never seen before a couple days ago, which was...
Was it the porn version of the Four Tops called the Four Bottoms?
I was thinking about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. I was trying to figure out how to work four bottoms in.
me too.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Nothing has changed.
In fact, maybe getting worse.
Yes. This is like year 1 and 2 humor.
So I'd never seen Prince on the Muppets Tonight. Like,
Oh, sure.
Muppets
Yeah,
Tonight
yeah,
was a mid-90s Muppet show that they did. And Prince is like, he's in a sketch. He's like making jokes with the Muppet. I'd never seen him like playful in that.
Yeah.
And then he goes off with a bunch of the Muppets and he sings Starfish and Coffee, Maple Syrup, and it's from Sign of the Times.
Yeah.
And then he comes back because the whole thing is that they come in and they go. Prince goes, yeah, I can write a song about anything. They're like, oh, you can write a song about like food, and he goes, sure. Hey, what's for lunch? And they go, oh, it's a starfish, coffee, maple syrup, and jam. So then he goes up to the song, and he comes back and he goes, could you do that again? And he goes, sure. Hey, what's for what else you got in the kitchen? And they go, raspberry sorbet. And then he sings raspberry sorbet. And then that's the end of the sketch. Yeah, it was fucking amazing.
That's really great.
It was really great. So, well, that's it. TLDR. Podcast name is changing. Podcast itself won't change. Same feed. You won't have to resubscribe. New name, new logo. We're going to figure out all the other stuff in the interim. And I'm still working at Nerdist the company, even though the podcast is moving to Cadence 13, so we can try to put it on the radio. That's it. Those are the headlines. And I love you guys. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming, even though you're
No, I knew it was
Always
very,
on the precipice
It was
of-
very important that you
We showed a unified front.
we get together and do this together, and I knew that, and that's why I made the effort to get here, and I thank you both for accommodating.
Both?
Oh God, we got to end on something funny. That wasn't it.
There it is.
Enjoy your ride home, everybody.
You make stuff, not money. Yo.
Next up, not money.
Yo.
ID10T All-Stars coming at you. Master P in the house.
Enjoy your burrito.
I could have kept on doing that for a long time.
Oh, Lydia had been saying that I should end the podcast with munch those tacos.
Now leaving Nerdist.com. Enjoy your burrito.